For those of you that don't know who I am, I'm Tom Young, and I currently represent District 81 in the South Carolina House of Representatives. And I have been an advocate for reform in many areas, but in particular, the Department of Transportation.
I have 4 questions. Everybody in here, I think, received a handout that talks about some work that was done by the Department of Transportation. And according to this document that I'm reading here, there was a private bridge on a private road in a gated community that taxpayer dollars were spent for the SC DOT to go into this private community on a private road, on a private bridge, and do an inspection. To the best of your knowledge, is that true?
Well, let me see what happened with that.
Excuse me. To the best of your knowledge, is that true?
Let me tell you what happened on that, okay?
If you'd answer my question, please, first. Is that true? That's a simple yes/no question.
It's my understanding that DOT did go and check the bridges in Woodside.
This article claims specifically that that was done at the request of you and Senator Ryberg.
Let me tell you what I did. I don't know what Senator Ryberg did, but I can tell you what Tom Young did. I received a telephone call from a city council person here who actually lives in Woodside.
Okay.
And he told me that there were concerns in Woodside as to 3 bridges in particular. He asked me to come look at those bridges. And I met with him and looked at the bridges. And he said, you know, we have some serious safety concerns with these bridges, and we need to know if DOT will look at these bridges. I said, I don't know the answer to that, but I'll be glad to contact DOT and find out. So I called DOT, I talked to their chief engineer. This was last summer. And I said, I told him what the situation was, and he said, we will look at bridges and we will provide a certain type of report as to what the recommendations are as to improving those bridges. He called me back about 4 to 6 weeks later, and he said, I need to know about those bridges. 2 questions. Number 1, are there ambulances traveling across the bridges? And number 2, are there school buses traveling across the bridges? And I said, I think there are, but let me hang up and call the city council person to confirm. So I called the city council person, and I asked him those 2 questions, and he told me yes to both of them. So I called back the guy at DOT, and I said yes. He said, well, if that's the case, we'll send somebody out there to look at those bridges. I never demanded that anybody look at those bridges. I simply asked a question as a service to a constituent who is a leader in this community, who lives in the community and has safety concerns. And once he made me aware of those, I felt it was my job as the elected official for that area to contact the Department of Transportation and simply ask them whether or not they would look at it. I never told them to do it, and I never demanded them to do it. That story was completely false. There actually was a story in the Greenville News in November or early December where a reporter interviewed that city council person and the DOT about the same thing, and that was a much more factually accurate story than what you have in front of you.
Does it bother you that taxpayer dollars were used by the SCDOT to go inspect a private bridge? The people in Woodside pay money every month to maintain the road system in Woodside. I have friends that live there, and they've told me, you know, our roads are maintained by us. They're not maintained by the county, not maintained by the city. We maintain the roads. Well, if that's the case, and SCDOT is going in there and inspecting bridges, then they're using my money to inspect those bridges.
Well, I mean,
Shouldn't that be paid for by the people that live there, since it's a private
I see your
road,
point,
private bridge?
but I think what the concern was, and why they called me about the ambulances and school buses, was whether or not that there were public utility of the school.
Why could not the people that live in Woodside that are paying the maintenance fee, why could they not hire a professional engineer to go inspect the bridge?
I don't know. You contact.
It sounds to me like a crony deal. It
Well,
really
I'm
does.
telling you exactly what happened. You can contact the city council person and the homeowner
It
association.
sounds like a crony deal to me. Did you say to the person they really shouldn't do that because it's a private bridge? Was that ever brought up? Did you know it was a private bridge?
I
Did the county
understood, I
council person
understood,
say to you,
that-
this is a private bridge, we want them to inspect it anyway?
I understood that that it was a bridge on private property, but I understood that the public was traveling across that bridge when the public had access to the community, and that the school buses and ambulances were traveling across it. And I simply acted as a conduit. I never said, do this, don't do it. I just asked them if they would do it. And then I got the information that they requested, and they went and looked at it.
So you're saying you're innocent?
No, I mean, I just did a service to my constituents. I mean, and I don't think I would have done it any differently at this point when they contacted me about their safety concerns.
Does the fact,
You've had a question.
And I understand your concern, but I'm not.
I'm Debbie Nix with We the People. This is a private community. I'm making statements, I'm not asking you questions. I would assume that DOT is not going to go in there and make those repairs. I would assume this would have been quite an amount of money for engineering to go in and do what the DOT did. And according to this, according to Larry Grooms, who is a Charleston Republican, he said, who chairs the Senate Transportation Committee, he says, I'm looking for the reason why it was done and to see if there's a trail that leads to any DOT employees that have connections with private contractors or developers. Sarah Knuckles, who is a DOT commissioner, states that she's sounding alarms at the agency she's been for some time. It's been it was very difficult to get the information by FOIA on this. But the bottom line is this was a private property. These bridges are owned by a private community. And DOT, there's a lot, even the DOT employees, now they don't mention names here, but they have problems going out and inspecting this. You have a powerful position. When you call or you request something from South Carolina Department of Transportation, then they're going to do what they can do to help you. So, but bigger than that, because I think that this is big, I think that there's going to be an investigation, and there actually is a lawsuit that's ensuing right now. I think that people should know that.